But when feeling a nervous constriction in her throat and a strange fluttering sensation at the base of her stomach, Steve summoned up the courage to fling open the doors of the wardrobes, not only in the spare bedroom, but in the main bedroom as well, and found them full of masculine attire. She couldn't prevent herself uttering a gasp. She touched one of the suits gingerly, a dinner jacket made of superlatively fine cloth, and felt as if it burned her fingers. Then she pulled out a tray of silk scarves and neckerchiefs, and was horrified because they all bore the crest. Things like shirts and socks and ties. They were all the property of the Black Chevalier. She told herself not to be absurd, or to get into a panic. There was quite obviously some mistake, but it would be cleared up later on. For the moment she had the key to the flat, and Leanne's permission to occupy it. Leanne knew she had been ill, and she wouldn't play a trick on her. Why, she had insisted on seeing Steve off at London Airport, and put a lovely bunch of scarlet roses into her arms before she said goodbye. "To bring colour to your cheeks," she said gently, before she actually kissed Steve. "Take care of yourself, chérie, and don't rush around looking for work before you are fit for it. Have a good rest. Make yourself familiar with my adorable Paris while you have a chance, and don't bother your head about anything. The flat is yours." Steve was so overcome by the scent of roses, the other's generosity, and the warmth of her smile, that she could only swallow on an embarrassing lump in her throat. "You have sufficient money to carry you on for a while? You can manage, n'est-ce pas?" Steve nodded. "Oh, yes." "Then have a wonderful interlude, a little adventure." She smiled again, and it was the brilliant smile Steve would always remember, just as she would always remember the fateful day in August, a day of suffocating heat, when she had collapsed, in the middle of the carpet, while modelling a clinging velvet gown for Leanne, who had only just started to patronize the gilt and plush establishment of Monsieur Paul Roche in Bond Street. Monsieur Paul's eyes had widened in horror, and a couple of assistants had pounced on the velvet to rescue it before it was irreparably damaged. The manageress had offered profuse apologies to the customer, but it was the latter who whipped out a bottle of smelling salts from her bag, and knelt beside the inert figure with the chalk-white face, and did her best to revive her with the minimum loss of time. "It is so often I have felt like this myself," she declared, after she had called impatiently for the windows to be opened wider, and some brandy to be brought. "Especially on the first night, when the theatre is crowded and it is so hot and stuffy, or even at a dress rehearsal, when the clothes are unfamiliar and tight." She lifted Steve's head gently and put back the moist hair from her brow. "And are you better now?" she asked softly. Her violet eyes were immensely shrewd, and the girl's ribs could be plainly seen through the velvet, and the hollows in her neck were far too noticeable. "How long is it since you had something to eat?" Steve gazed at her vaguely. "I had an apple at lunchtime." "An apple?" She glanced round, tight-lipped at the helpless group surrounding them, and sharply ordered a taxi to be summoned. "I will take this young woman back with me to my flat," she said, "and see that she has a proper meal. I will also pay for the dress she is wearing, and you can pack it up and send it round to me later on. I don't suppose I shall wear it, but I wouldn't like to think of anything being stopped out of her wages because it has been rendered unsellable."